IT, are you ready?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 17, 2025 meeting of the Kandiyohi County Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today.
Also move.
Commissioner Dale Anderson moves. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda. And these are routine items, including the approval of the July 1, 2025 County Board legal minutes, approval of the auditor's warrants and claims, approval of human services warrants and claims, cancellation of human services warrants, and the minutes of the 2025 County Board of Equalization meeting. Do any commissioners wish to pull any of these items for discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson moves. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Roger Imdak, thank you. And any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, we'll receive information from Ace Bonema, our Emergency Management Director, in regards to the June 13th, 2025 rain event / disaster. Ace, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Ace Bonema, Kandiyohi County Emergency Management Director, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to give me an update on the flooding events that started on June 12th and 13th and continued with another rain event on June 25th through the 28th. We're still in the process of cleaning up. We're working with our long-term recovery committee and partners from the Minnesota organizations active in disasters. These organizations such as the Red Cross, Christian Aid Ministries, and the Minnesota-Wisconsin Baptist Conference. We set up a multi-agency resource center, which is called a MARC, on July 1st, where people could come and see if they had any agencies available to help them, pass out some cleanup kits, and we continue to work to try and help people where we can. The last time I addressed you was on the board meeting of June 17th, and I talked about our request for disaster assistance from the governor's office. We are still waiting to hear from the governor's office, but the folks from Homeland Security are assuring us that the request just was recently submitted because they were waiting for some other counties affected by the storm as well to submit their preliminary damage assessments. You may recall at that meeting I talked about our preliminary damage assessment value estimates being $1.4 million. I just want to clarify that those are estimates for public infrastructure only. Like roads and washed out culverts. It does not include individual assistance, and it does not include any agricultural assistance or business loans at this time. As far as the agricultural impact, I have been in contact with Scott Newberg from the County Executive Director for Kandiyohi and Swift Counties of the USDA Farm Service Agency. He estimates around 1,000 farms have been affected by the flooding, and he states it's just too early to access potential crop loss at this time. I know Mel and Austin are going to be talking more about rain amounts and specifics, so I'm going to leave that to them. One last thing that I'd like to talk about is a reporting project that we're starting. I have Scott Hovland from the county IT, who along with Matt Rumke from our GIS department have developed a Survey 123 report to help us document storm events. This is not for reporting emergencies or requesting help. This is just to document what happened and where it happened. It's a voluntary data collection and to help us better document these storms. So I'll just pull it up here if could have IT allow access to our website. Otherwise, Melissa, if you could pull it up. If you go to www.kcmn.us/em or to our department, on the left-hand side, there's a category that says report storm damage. You can click on that. There's a QR code, or you can click on the hyperlink there in blue. And that just pulls up a little survey. And go ahead, Melissa. And you can enter name, date, what happened, contact information. You can continue through there. You can enter photos, up to 4 photos. We can use this for storm damage for tornadoes and stuff in the future as well. I know the auditor's office will send out people after storms. Mel and Public Works crew sends out folks, and this would help us document that and hopefully be better prepared and help us track from one storm to the other. There's a lot of questions about, where did the flooding happen last time? This will give us a little bit better data. And so at this time, I'd just like to open up for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ace. Are there any questions for the director? Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
So this report, is that for government agencies or is it for private individuals?
It's mainly for the county, for our use, just to collect and maintain data. We can kind of use it for the preliminary damages. So like if we pass this out to the townships to get their estimates, like in the case here, you have to have $4,000 at least worth of damage and then do those reportings. Right now, we're doing it by phone calls. Hey, do you have anything? Eventually, hopefully, we can have this, that after the storm, everybody knows the system, and we can make that a little bit more automated and have better documentation.
So it's more for local governments? that
Yeah,
go
local
report
governments
there.
and just informational reporting, totally volunteer. So it's not like a requirement for anyone, so.
So anyone can fill this out?
Correct.
If they're a homeowner,
Yep.
they can say, hey, my house was damaged and there's, the street is buckling or something like that.
Right.
Those types of things.
Right, we would want them, it's not for reporting type things. If they need immediate assistance, it's still a call to the sheriff's office or Public Works. But it does help us to just keep track of that.
And then for the other local units of government who'd like be able to access that.
Right.
Then they're gonna have an idea of, okay, we need to send Public Works out to this, so on and so forth. Whereas it might take them a while to get around to it if they haven't heard about it.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Dale?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Ace, do we have any way, I said it on open mic yesterday, but, are we classifying this as one event for like the FEMA dollars, or is it being split up in chunks?
So we're not going to qualify for the FEMA dollars. We're
Okay.
qualifying for the state dollars, which is actually a little bit easier for us because there's less paperwork to jump through. It doesn't, fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't meet the FEMA levels, so we're not getting the individual assistance and that type of thing. There are actually 2 different storm dates. So there's the 12th and 13th, and then that 25th through the 28th. We're trying to determine if there was enough damage for the 25th through the 28th. It's pretty hard because a lot of that, we still can't do damage assessments because the water's still there. So we don't know if the culvert's washed out or not. And so I believe a lot of it's going to tie to that initial storm, so we may not have to do that second storm one, but we're working with the state on those questions.
Okay, thanks.
So basically, if Mel went out and fixed the road, and then on the 25th, it got washed out again, that would qualify for that. But then again, we have to meet those thresholds, which
Right.
would be over 100,000, so probably will be tied to that original storm.
Okay.
Commissioner Berg.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Excellent. This is really stepping into the right time or the right century with this kind of information available to people. But the important thing is marketing it. Do you have a plan to market and to get the public informed that this is a good way to report any damage you may have from the storms?
Yeah, we wish we would have had this set up beforehand so that we could, when the story's hot, that we could get it out there. And it's a building thing. We're learning and growing as it goes on. So we don't have a lot of hope that we're going to have a ton of data in there for this storm, but it's a starting point. So from here on, and we'll be advertising it more. There'll probably be information at the county fair, that type of thing, so.
Good.
Ace, are we hearing anything from, climatologists or folks at the state level as to any idea when the water levels may go down?
I think I'm gonna
Hydrologists?
probably leave that question for Austin, because he's smarter than I am on that stuff.
Well, don't
Is that
sell
okay? Can I pass
yourself.
the buck?
And that's fine. We'll, when it's his time, we'll certainly get him up here, so. All right, anyone else for Ace?
Yeah, I'm learning more about ditches and stuff than I ever thought I would, so I'm glad you got Mel and Austin coming up next to give you that.
Well, there you go, so. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, at this time, then, we will segue into Austin Hillbrands, our Public Drainage Manager, and Mel Odens, our Public Works Director, and they'll present as to the public damages and so on and so forth.
Perfect.
If we can on this computer. If it doesn't work. Sure. Perfect.
And I would bet that chart will be out at the county fair with us.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure can.
we're gonna be busy at the county fair, I take it.
Dress comfortably.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. We're gonna talk a little bit about highway damage, some public drainage damage, and then a little bit about lake levels as well. So June 13th, we had a significant amount of rain. These are gonna be unofficial amounts, but a lot of farmers have weather stations, and these are kind of what I've gathered from them at the time, I guess, or after the June 13th rain event. This map on the screen here is the same map that I have on the easel here. I just wanted to point out, we have 4 main watersheds in Candiway County. You have the, up in the northwest is gonna be the Chippewa flowage, or Chippewa River, which is technically Shakopee Creek as well. In the green is gonna be the middle fork of the Crow River. That'd be your outlet of Green Lake, basically. And then down in the blue in the southwest, we have the Hot Creek watershed. It exits Hot Creek and Chatumba Creek, both are considered JD7. They meet up in Renville County and then into Hot Creek and into the river, Minnesota River. And then in the southeast, we have the South Fork of the Crow River. And, the outlet for that in Candiway County is gonna be JD1. So, we'll kind of go through these, or in the middle there, you can see we had a pretty good section that got, that's where most of the rain is. That 8 to 12 inch, unofficial amounts. Official amounts probably won't come out for another 6 months or so, Oh, one more thing with this map, we also show where the drainage damage is, and the yellow, the red is drainage damage, yellow would be areas where county roads were overtopped. If I put on where the township roads are overtopped, there would be a lot of yellow down in that area, so. So, Noah's Atlas 14 is where we get our rain reoccurrence intervals. So if you hear about like a 100-year storm event, a 500-year storm event, the 1,000-year storm event, this is kind of the table that a lot of engineers would use. So if you go, and you base it mostly off the 24-hour rain event. So if you go to 24 hours on the screen, yeah, you can see my mouse here. So you go to the 24-hour, let's go over to the 100-year rain event. That's 6.7 inches. Well, we for sure exceeded that, in the Wilmer area alone. If you go over to the 500-year rain event, that's 9.25 inches. This is based on Wilmer's weather station. So, there's a good chance a lot of areas in that, Big Candy, Lake Waganda area, Fallen Township, that we exceeded the 500-year rain event, and then if you look at the 1,000-year rain event, that's 10.5 inches in 24 hours. I've had reports that we've had over 10.5 in that area as well. So again, these are all unofficial. Hopefully, eventually we'll get official rain amounts, but. And I want to just, reoccurrence intervals, that does not mean that it's gonna happen once every 1,000 years. You'll get a percentage off of that. So a 100-year flood event, it's only supposed to happen 1% of the time. A 500-year flood event is supposed to happen 0.2% of the time, and a 1,000-year rain event is supposed to happen 0.1% of the time. So we got hammered there with that, but. So highway damage, we had 19 roads over top with water. The county placed out around 45 barricades. Both type 3s are the big ones on the right-hand picture there, and type 2s are the little guys in the bottom left there, so. I'll turn it over to Mel here to talk about highway.
Mr. Chair, Mel Odens, public, county engineer, almost said public drainage, I don't. What I've got here, you can't probably read this, but whenever we do, when an event happens, we start documenting right away. Okay, we had that meeting Saturday morning after the event. And so that's how we started coming up with this chart. My chart looks a little bit different than that. It looks just like it, only it was done by hand because it's out in my vehicle. And so the one thing that I do want to point out, and maybe Austin can do this, in the southeastern part where all the damage was, is in the 8 to 12 inch zone. If you go to the southwest and you look where the damage was, it's down below it. And Austin, when we get into my pictures, you're gonna see that pretty quickly. The water stopped there. In the southwest, it's enough grade that it keeps going. So actually the damage was outside the zone where the heavy water was. Does that make sense? So this southeast is a lake, the southwest kind of whistled downstream. So, but anyway, this map I have here is, we're just tracking on the sheets that we need to fill in when we do a disaster, whether it's FEMA, the emergency declaration, or whatever it is, we track it. This is where we start our cost accounting. So that was started immediately on day one, hour one. Here's our biggest problem on the left is this is County Road 20 on that little piece between County Road 8 and County Road 4 in the southeastern part of the county. We did have a road that was starting to wash away. We put barricades, you can see on the left picture, and then I don't know how many hours later, but 3 hours later, it looked like it on the right. We had a failure. That failure, and I think we might have a picture of this, that failure is about 20 feet deep. It was a 72-inch arch pipe, so it's about 4.5 feet high and I think 7 feet or 6 feet across. You can see that we've got it. We're starting to do the repair here, and we were able to get it open last night about 5 o'clock. So we have all our appropriate barricades up for loose gravel, et cetera. And now we're going to let the inslopes, the topsoil dry out, and then probably in the next few weeks, we'll get it seeded and patched. But the road is open as we speak.
So what was the issue there?
Oops.
Did they separate or
Yep,
did something?
Yep, so what we found was when they tied the pipe back in when we mean tie the pipe, each section is we lost about 36 feet of pipe. There was 5 sections plus an end section. So when they have the pipe, they put holes in each section, and then they take a piece of steel that they actually tie those 2 sections together. And what we were finding is some of those old sections were tied with just rebar, which rusts and degrades and fails. And so what we used was regular, reinforced concrete pipe tie bars that's made for holding.
Proper stuff is what
The
you're
proper stuff, yes. So back 45 years ago, they just used rebar, and so it did fail. So yeah, we replaced 36 feet of pipe, but the rest of the pieces from the center of the road east or south is never, we didn't have failure in those. So we just left it. This piece of Highway 20 is in our fiber reconstruction program. So that was why we made the decision to just not remove the whole pipe, and we just we reset the north pieces. So,
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Commissioner Imdak.
Can you go back, now,
more?
move forward? There was a picture that didn't show as much water in the background.
I think that's all the further I got.
You talking this one?
Yeah, I mean, how much has it gone down, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
On this area, this ditch has gone down almost completely.
Yes, this is at the top end of the system.
Yep, yep.
It's down by me, so.
Yeah. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go through a bunch of, I just wanna give the perspective of what we're up against. And primarily, the pictures that we have are in the southeast, where the water went downhill and just pooled. And pretty much still pooled. In fact, it's kinda crazy.
Where is that photo on the right? Where was that?
This photo is on County 4 and 20.
Oh, okay, where they, okay.
Yep. And so what
Okay, I see where it is.
basically what we had, the failure damage, and then we had a lot of shoulder damage. And so I'm just gonna kind of rifle through some of these pictures, but you can see our type 2 barricades. This is why we had to shake out so many. And then we also, and ironically, what was good or bad, but we helped the townships. The township reimbursed us for supplies when we closed the road. Well, we had 2 detours going on with the MnDOT projects. So we had about 50 of our signs out on that detour yet for the turn lanes on 71 and the turn lanes on 23. So we were scrambling, our staff were in-house scrambling to make signs. So that's all behind the scenes stuff that happens. But we were making signs while this was going on, to just have signs. But you're gonna see, this is a typical shoulder damage, County Road 20. We had water, we never seen water before. You can see how it just washes out the shoulder. County Road 80, it reverted back to a lake. You wanna point that one out?
That's that one, right?
That's, this one came up, like 3 days later, I believe. We thought we were out of the woods, and then it came up. This is County Road 83.
Just like, can you go back to that 80?
Yep.
What township is that in? Is that Lake Lillian Township or are we,
No, we're in, Holland down.
okay, way over, out west, okay.
This one came up, this was a little bit of a delay that came up too. This is like Tuesday, I think, the next
No,
week.
that was a picture from Sunday.
Oh, it was Sunday? Okay.
Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellent presentation. Yeah, it's very obvious that getting all those signs out there, even though you were scrambling, you saved accidents or even lives. I mean, looking at the roads and how they can collapse in the rain and somebody's driving through there, it would not be a good deal. Oh, wow, good job.
Yeah. So that is something that we do want to point out, because, we don't know when that's happening underneath the water.
Yep.
And so people like to drive through that because it's not real deep. But we don't know. Nobody knows until the water goes down. And so this is County Road 83 again.
Yep, and that picture on the right is from, 2 days ago.
So basically what you've got here is it's not gone down dramatically, and we're talking a month and 3-4 days already. And it's only gone down from the picture on the right to the picture or left and right.
Could you point out on the map where that County Road 83 is, where that was?
Here's Lake Lillian, here's County Road 83.
Is that one of the bridges we looked at last winter, or is that a different one?
No, I don't think we looked at this one.
Okay.
But what it does on these are these old timber bridges that is on our list that it makes me as the county engineer get a little nervous when these bridges are vulnerable already and those piling are vulnerable already. And we don't want to just, because the water's down, we don't want to so we can't even get a really good inspection of this substructure yet. And so I had our bridge guy out there last week, and I'm gonna have him out again this week, just because we had to shore up some piling on some of our other bridges. And so when you get these big rain events like this, you know, it could make it more vulnerable. That's County Road 84. You know, this was common, honestly. Austin just threw this picture in because when we're out there working, it's amazing what fish will do. And we had a lot of fish.
Can you point on the map? Okay.
Should be the second one, so they're a long ways from the ditch.
Yeah,
I wonder if that wasn't one where I got a call, a guy said he had a whole bunch of carp in
Yeah.
his field, and he was
Yeah.
wondering what we were gonna do about it, and I said, well, I think they're yours now, so I just didn't know what to do.
but it is unusual when we're sandbagging and things, and we have these big carp that show up on the drone and carp that show up. I mean, you can see those. You can see these, like there's a bunch of stuff in the road. It's fish. So it's just not a huge thing. It's other than maybe you didn't expect that. You would expect it at a lake, or you'd expect it closer to a ditch. We're out in the middle of a road that's a long ways. Just County Road 86, this is on the way to Elizabeth, right?
Yes, yep.
County 134, this is the one north of, no, this is the section between Minnetonka. We should point out on the picture on your right, this is looking northbound. If you remember, this is going on, and then like the next few days later, when the system is moving out, we had strong winds. And so what we were doing is we were trying to save the road. So what we did is we dumped a row of rock about 1.5 feet deep along that whole east side of the road because the wave action was coming through. But we wanted the water still wants to get through, like you can see it wants to get through. And so the water can still get through the rock, seeping through the rock relatively fast. It's 1.5 inches clear, you know, it's not class 5, it's open rock. But what we were doing there is we were just saving the road from wave action because we had a lot of wind there for a few days. So it's just one of those things. County Road 134, again, this is south of 20. A lot of water, historic old lake area. Where was this one at? This is
gonna be that bridge that you're going to be replacing on the.
Yeah, this is a closed bridge in Fallen Township. This is looking northerly. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look a lot different than that right now. I mean, it's crazy how this is just not going down. That Strawberry Island thing is finally out of the water.
Yep.
That road, and if you look, but this is just water all the way from that Fallen Township Bridge northerly toward Wilmer or Big Candy. So that bridge is set to be replaced next year. I think we've got the funds secured for that. Now I'm gonna turn it over to Austin because there's a lot of reoccurring questions that happen. And so we'll probably get into that with lake elevations and I'll just stay up here.
Yep. So yeah, so I just we're just gonna go through some water levels on a few of these lakes. I list the outlet structure, and that's also gonna be the red line on the graph. And then if you look at 2025 on the right, that'll be what we shot this year. So we're gonna have the highest lake level the county's ever recorded. The county's been recording lake levels since 1980. We do it, periodically through the summer, times of drought, times of high water. So I'm just gonna go through these. This is Diamond Lake, the outlet. The DNR is gonna hopefully take care of these cattails in front of the structure. There's also, we sandbagged, 150
To the north,
to the north?
50 feet to the east, south.
Yeah, just to prevent, the lake was actually going across somebody's lawn. We didn't want it to blow out and drain the whole lake, so. So Green Lake, not quite the highest we've ever seen it. It's up quite a bit. I can go through the numbers too if you really want, but I think we'll just kind of push through this, but. So this is kind of some pictures of the, Green Lake. Here's the fishing pier. Here's the fishing walking bridge. Lake Waganda, that's the highest, again, in 2025, the highest the county's ever recorded, just under 4 feet.
And it's only down about 1.5 feet
Can you go back on?
since then.
Yep, sorry, yes, we shot it on Monday. And it's down, yes, 1.5 feet.
Wow.
So and we'll get to that here in a little bit on why all that is so slow in that area. Here's a picture of Lake Waganda it's going across that guy's yard there by the outlet structure. Big Candy, again, 630 was the highest we've ever recorded. You can kind of look back and see yep. There's just a picture of it by the County Park 2 up on the northeast end there. It's going over the road. Is that County Park 2?
County East.
East, yeah. And Lake Lillian, just the highest the county's ever recorded down in that area as well, so oh, sorry. Perfect. All right, public drainage systems. So I've flown about 63 miles with the drone. Like we talked about down in Holland Township, Edward Township, that's all drained. I can see that. The top end of JD1 in Lake Elizabeth Township, I was able to see that. My initial estimates for large corner erosion blowouts, plug road culverts, $620,606. There's 43 miles of JD1 that was still underwater for sure last week, and this week it's starting to go down. So in theory, hopefully we can start to assess that. Maybe a conservative estimate, another 250. I know there's some bad corners down there that are getting hit right now. Had over 56 calls related to drainage issues since this flood, mostly tile systems in that, west of Wilmer actually, where all the water's gone now, so. Gonna go through some pictures. This is JD7 Chatumba Creek. This is that area down by Prinsburg and Holland Township. Just a couple pictures of some big corners that are gonna need riprap. This is JD7 Hot Creek. This would be what goes through Raymond. And by Priam, there's where the trees were piled up on the box or the crossings there. A couple big corners north of the golf course. I just wanted to throw a picture in because we're talking about JD7 and Hot Creek. This was the city of Raymond on Saturday after the flood. The golf course is underwater. There's a couple homes there getting affected. JD1, so that we're in Fallen Township now, or actually Lake Elizabeth Township, kind of on the top end of JD1. This is the area that probably got hit with the most rain, in my opinion. There was actual rivers going across these fields, and the ditch decided to go straight in some of these areas. So you can see the damage that washout is like 70 feet into the field, so.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Remdeck.
Thank you. On the picture on the right there, all that sloughing along the ditch, is that new or was that there before the rain came?
This for sure is all new. Yes, yep, through this stretch. Yep. So all this will have, if we get funding from the state, we'll look to repair it. But it's 75% they're gonna cover, so.
And if you don't get funding from the state and it needs repairing, then it'll be on the ditch system?
It'll be on the ditch system, yep. Yep. And then we have to pick and choose what we can do and, based on budgets and everything like that. But I mean, for sure, the blowout into the field will have to address the corners. Ideally, they'll only get worse from now on, so. More of JD1. This is south of 20. All right, so we're gonna get to JD1. I want you to for sure remember the picture on the right. So your picture on the left is in the same area. This is the outlet of Lake Lillian. This is where all the lakes, Lake Waganda, Big Candy, Lake Lillian come down that state ditch one, and they tie into JD1 there. If you go to the picture on the right, on the bottom right-hand side of the picture is where State Ditch 1 ties in with JD1, the main ditch coming, all of Lake Elizabeth, Fallen Township. And all that water gets shoved out this outlet right here. It's a 20-foot wide ditch bottom by what it was designed anyway, with a 0.01% grade. It's got 0.52 feet of fall every mile. That's 6 inches of fall each mile. That is, in my opinion, why we still have water in that area, is that it's got such low grade and everything is so flat in that area.
And
So
Commissioner Anderson.
properly designed ditch has how much fall per mile? About 2.5 feet?
yeah, I would say, yeah.
So it's a fifth of what a proper ditch should.
Right, and you know, back when this was designed, you know, that they probably went with what they could get. You know, this ditch is pretty old. I think it was put in the early 1900s, I believe, so.
But this is the topography of that area between Wilmer and
Exactly,
this
yep,
area
yep,
here. It's just, there just isn't
correct. Yep,
anywhere else for it to go.
yep.
Mr. Chair. On the photo on the right, there looks like a road. What road is that?
So that is a township road. It would be like half a mile east of the town of Lake Lillian. Yep.
Oh, okay. I know.
Yep, it just kind of, it comes from County Road 4 and just goes to Highway 7. That's all it does.
You know, the guy that lives on that road, he said the only time JD1 runs is when it runs backwards. And he's kind of right in this case.
Sure.
So,
Yep. So, you know, we're gonna focus more on the pink area because that's where we still have flooding issues to this day over a month later. But like I said, there's 141,138 acres drained through Judicial Ditch 1. Like I talked about a little bit ago, the ditch grade is flat. And then the outlet, when you get over by Cosmos, is still the South Fork of the Crow River. That's a public waters, and it's still pretty flat all the way down to Hutchinson. It's difficult to remove obstructions and trees once you get outside the ditch system. You need landlord permission. I don't know the answer on spending ditch funds outside of the system either. You know, the other options we could look at were drainage improvements, but they're expensive. We don't have any grade to do these improvements. And then, you know, you got to question whether the outlet is adequate. Environmental concerns as well. So just with the flooding alone, these are kind of the main questions brought to my attention. Some of them I can answer, some of them I can't. Some of them that, you know, it's gonna take, to change anything, it's gonna take, you know, legislation, you know, the state of Minnesota. But I'm just gonna breeze through these quick. Can we look into lowering the lake levels on these wildlife lakes, specifically for flood storage? You know, that's Grass Lake, Lake Wagana Chain. You know, that's high up there, but, can you remove trees, beaver dams outside of JD1 and South Fork of the Crow River, specifically that first mile? So we're gonna look into that. Can we install water level markers at certain areas? This kind of could be early detection, you know, water's coming up. I know when my house flooded, when it got to this level, we can sandbag it, you know, in Big Candy Lake or something. I know that was a question that got asked. Can we map elevations of the water control structures? Yes, I got all that from the DNR now. Can we improve JD1 or any of the other systems in watershed? Possibly, but we're dealing with a fairly flat area in that area. Is there areas that we can install holding ponds? Yes. Is there money available for flood mitigation? That I don't have an answer for. Another question, you know, kind of a big one, who can facilitate meeting with county officials, county commissioners, city officials, state representatives, DNR, even the governor to address these issues in Candidac County? That was a big question that I got asked a lot. And, you know, Ace and we can start facilitating these meetings if we have people that want to pursue this stuff, so. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so.
And in order to do that, we need to know exactly what it is that we're going to be looking for.
Sure, yep,
In types of assistance and
Sure.
specific solutions to these issues.
yep. So going forward, for me anyway, we're gonna work to find solutions for the questions I just got asked. I'll continue the routine ditch maintenance on the ditch system, inspection, cleanouts, erosion control, tree spraying, removal. And I'll continue to advocate for storage on on these systems that'll help some, but there's a lot of money available for that through water quality stuff, so.
I guess I thought that Grass Lake was supposed to be one of those holding areas, so to speak. And part of that was to potentially help mitigate that backing up into the city of Wilmer. Is it working as intended?
I'd say Grass Lake is working how it is designed. How much it helps Wilmer, I'm sure there's studies that have proved that, I guess, or not, I guess. When we get this amount of rain, Grass Lake filled up pretty fast, so I think it did allow Wilmer's water to go first, which helped, but it didn't necessarily help anybody downstream.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's what I assumed.
and
Just
grass-
because there's no fall.
Yeah, Grass Lake wasn't necessarily strictly for flood storage. It was,
Right.
it was both flood storage and
Environmental.
environmental lake, so.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So basically, whatever Grass Lake was designed for the rainfall event, it wasn't designed for a 500-year event. It was probably like a 50-year event or maybe 25.
Yeah, I would have to look back and try to find that.
But whatever
number.
it was designed, I mean,
Right.
it was nothing,
I-
you can't hardly design for something like
Right,
this.
there's probably no drainage infrastructure that can actually be designed for a 500-year rain event, so.
Commissioner Imdag.
Thank you. So, I'm getting questions too about lake levels, obviously, and no-wake zones and stuff in the northern part of the county where we haven't had as much rain.
Sure.
And we have a more rolling topography. There are some people asking me, have dam structures been raised to restrict water flowage, especially at Calhoun, there was a question. Do you communicate routinely with Emily Wolf, the area hydrologist from the DNR?
Yes.
And do you know, can you answer that question? Has any dam structure been raised or lowered?
Right, as far as I know, there's been no dam structures that have been raised or lowered. Some are managed by the DNR, some are managed by the county, us. So, yeah, no, there hasn't been any. I think, just with the topography in the north, you're probably seeing it hit the lakes faster because of the hills. We had less rain up there, but compared to this, relative to the southeast anyway, but, yep.
Well, we know we've had a lot of impacts across the entire county, and not just in our rural areas, but in our towns and cities as well, so.
Yep.
Folks will want to stay posted. And, there's, as Ace has indicated, and helped facilitate, there's community organizations out there that are able to help in some way, shape, or form, so. Does Commissioner Anderson?
I just want to say one other thing, drainage isn't just for drainage, it is also for public benefit and recreation, and that JD1, when it turns into the South Fork Crow River east of Cosmos, there's a lot of blockages there, and it is considered a scenic river route, but you can't get in it because there's so many blockages. And I would just encourage people, call the DNR, call whoever you can, ask them to remove the blockages so people can enjoy it for recreation purposes when the water does go down. Because, it'd be nice to have a channel that would be clear enough that can take the water away when it's situations like this, but can also handle people that want to enjoy the rivers.
I'm just signaling for a timeout after this presentation is done.
Okay, sounds good. Does anybody else have anything for? All right.
Mr. Chair, one thing that
Mel, go ahead.
I do want to say is, the good part of all this, we had property damage, but we had no loss of life. So, I mean, that is one thing to note with some of the, Texas flooding and some of those floodings that happened.
And we have fewer portages to do now on our canoes and kayaks.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Austin, you did a great job.
Candiota County Board of Commissioners is back from recess, and at this time, we'll entertain a informational presentation from Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. Bridget Paulson, the Business Services Coordinator, and Leslie Witowitz, the Development Manager for the organization. And even though I just introduced you, for the record, please reintroduce yourselves again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us back to share a presentation about our business services team. I am Leslie Witowitz, the Development Manager with CMJTS, and
Good morning, I'm Bridget Paulson. I'm the Business Service Coordinator with CMJTS.
so really what we want to do is just share a little bit of an overview about our business service opportunities. So Bridget is the main contact here in the county. She is the go-to person for businesses. She offers one-on-one presentations, consultations. She promotes on-the-job training, incumbent worker, which we have renamed to talent development program. We also engage a lot of businesses with our summer camps, and I'm just going to list a few of the companies that have supported and engaged with our youth. Centricare, Minnesota Oral and Facial Surgery, Bethesda, LifeLink, Woodland Center, Genio, Bridgewater, Dunick, Prinsco, and Legacy to Inspire. I also would like to highlight something unique that we are exploring. I'm sure you're aware that the Wilmer High School is looking at registered apprenticeship program for, I think they have 14 in this upcoming cohort that they are looking to enter into registered apprenticeship to upskill them to special education teachers. They are exploring options. How can our local boards support them in these efforts? So this is going to be a pilot for us. We are exploring supporting 12 of them, which we hope to do incumbent worker to support some of the classroom education for them, and then looking at 2 individuals, seeing if they're eligible, the new hires, if we can support them through on-the-job training, which would be a big benefit to the school and the community to have them move forward and have more special education teachers. And I know we offer several talent development with companies, but I'm just going to turn it over to Bridget so she can share more details and what she does every day.
Thanks, Leslie. So again, I'm Bridget Paulson.
Just have you pull over towards the mic just a little bit closer.
Okay, thank you. Bridget Paulson with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. And as a business service coordinator for Candiota County, I really enjoy working with local businesses and your economic development department. They have been an amazing partner with us. We have funding to help people find jobs, get into in-demand careers. And then we also have money available for businesses through the incumbent worker or talent development program to train and upskill their current employees. So in order to keep good people, you've got to train them and upskill them so they have opportunities for advancement. And that's something that CMJTS can help pay for, so a business can grow and retain their good people. And then also, Leslie touched upon the camps. We have the Operation Exploration camps that we do every summer. With youth, we have a youth program that goes up to age 24 with at-risk youth. And we provide training and exposure to trades careers and healthcare careers. And that is a great partnership also with Bridgewater College. They are very helpful in helping us feed the pipeline of those kids that are in town that need to get some training so they can get a good job in town and start their lives and keep moving forward. So our youth program is really important, and we really partner with a lot of businesses that do that. One thing that has been really exciting that I've been working on in Wilmer is the Department of Agriculture gave a grant to CMJTS and to Southwest PIC to provide training to enhance meat processing careers. So this is an industry where they're really struggling to get young people into processing meat, packaging meat, all those sort of things. When you go to the grocery store and you eat meat, it's got to come from somewhere. So this funding is working to get people in that pipeline. We partnered with Bridgewater College and their ag department, and we are able to pay for the meat processing program through Bridgewater. So students can go to school for free to become meat processors. And then we work with local businesses to help them train and upskill those people within their business. One business that we've been working really hard with is Happy Halal Clean Chickens. Have you guys heard? Yeah, they've just opened up in June over there by FedEx. And we have been working with Becky and Greg, and they are the owners, and they have employed 4 people now to do processing of chickens, lamb, and goat, following the halal rules. And all 4 of their employees are getting on-the-job training reimbursement through this grant. So this company is able to start up, get the ball rolling, hire these people that might need a little extra help in training, and we're able to provide that through a wage reimbursement, so the business has the resources to upskill them to the point where they're gonna be successful. So that's just one of the exciting things that we're doing in Candy, Ojai County. Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, I did want to add, Bridget does have 3 other talent development programs.
Oh, yes, the Incumbent Worker Program or Talent Development Program. We've been doing a lot with that with businesses to get their current staff CDL certified, right? Because CDL drivers are hard to find. And so a business is able to come to us. We have 3 grants going now, Hague Kubota, Hague Implement, and Marcus Construction. And there's 6 total employees that we're helping pay for them to go to Ridgewater College and do the CDL program. And so that business gets reimbursed for that cost, which is about $7,000 a person, to help them grow and then keep their employees to grow and stay. And then that opens up entry-level positions that hopefully we can backfill with some of our people.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
I sit on that committee, and you guys do a great job, and it's really a great thing, good bang for the buck, I think, with government grants and stuff to get people into the jobs that they're looking for, or maybe don't even know they're looking for at the time. So, and also businesses to find the employees. And that halal meat, I think at the time, at our last meeting, I thought it was 3 employees they were looking for, but they had something like 50 people apply for the job. It was a lot more than I think you guys were expecting.
Yeah, we had 2 days where we were interviewing people at the Economic Development Office. Over 50 people came to apply for 3 jobs processing chickens. And so what we did then after is that we took those people, their names and their information, and we created a day of community sessions in 3 languages, in English, Spanish, and Somalian. And we reached out to all those job seekers and to the community to have them come back to see how we can help them find a job, where we can place them in the community to help them keep moving forward.
And you also have an event coming up that we're trying to find golfers, right?
Yes.
A little fundraiser. Can you talk about that, Leslie?
I absolutely can. So September 18th, so kind of, the fall, get your golf bats out one last time. We are looking for sponsors, and we are really looking for teams. So if anybody wants to take the day off, come enjoy. It is a fabulous course. It's Pebble Creek in Becker. It is Bloody Mary Bar opens at 10, and the tee-off is at 11. So take the day off, come have a Bloody Mary and do some
You don't
golf.
have to talk about Bloody Marys. You had me at Pebble Creek.
All right, yes, so
And I'm
September
struggling to
18th.
find some golfers, because I'm not a golfer, so I don't have the
I don't
connections.
think you have to be great. We're gonna do
I'm-
random,
I don't even know if I'm bad. I mean, I just don't golf.
It's a good opportunity to just come and enjoy the day,
Yep, yep.
socialize.
I'll be there, but I need to get a team, because that's kind of one of our things that we're challenging people, so so
Yes.
if anybody knows, let me know, and I'll probably give Bridget a call. Maybe she has some contacts I can call.
I would,
All right.
I would try.
Because we want to find fundraisers too. I mean, we want to get people that will be helping donate.
There you go.
Yes, and it's a beautiful course.
Played it many years ago, back when I had almost a golf swing. Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm curious, because we've had conversations ongoing regarding the space and everything. How many people are on your staff? And then how many are in this building, or how many may work from home?
So we do not have staff housed at this building.
We don't? Okay.
No, we are co-located at the college.
Okay.
So we are in the student center area with Trio, and we have 4 staff that work out of the college. They do come over here though, and we do collaborate with Career Force, and staff will come and meet with potential clients, but Yes, we are housed at the college.
All right, thank you for that. And then I have another question. So you responded very well to the trucking deal, to the meat processing. We, as county leaders and staff, are trying to prepare ourselves for the impact of the tax policy, the federal policy that just got passed on around the 4th of July. We could potentially be looking for a ton of eligibility workers, for eligibility reasons in both Medicare and SNAP. Is that something you guys could work with?
Absolutely, especially if it is going to be new hires, we could potentially do customized training where we help a bunch of people that you would look to employ and do some training so that they could help with that. They could also be qualified for OJT.
What is OGT?
On-the-job training.
On-the-job training.
Yes, where we could reimburse half of the wages for a certain length of time while they get skilled up.
What about for firms that may already have bookkeeping, accounting kind of operations and might be a possible opportunity for a unit of government to contract with for some of this work if we have troubles with hiring, if we need it? Do you provide services for like Christensen or any of the other accounting firms, or do they not reach out to you?
They, as far as I know right now, they don't reach out to us, but we are available to help upskill anybody, any company that applies and fills out the application. And it is a short application to upskill their people. They would just work directly with Bridget and she could help them fill it out.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions? Just very briefly, I know there's a similar meat cutting program up at Central Lakes College up in my old hometown of Staples. And I think there's some bounce between the two programs.
Yes, some of it is remote where the instructors from Staples do facilitate some of the training here locally too, and may travel. I don't know the specific details. We actually have a call at 11 with the other people involved in that grant.
And thank you for the spotlight on the CDL program. My son-in-law is instructing within that program and working with a lot of the different programming there, so.
Awesome.
So I have some familiarity there as well, and I guess we'll talk offline about golf.
All right, thank you. We look forward to seeing you on the 18th.
All right, well, thank you so,
Thanks.
you're already assuming the sale, all right. That's slick, good. All right, well, thank you so much, and appreciate your waiting for us. At this time, we will go to Human Services Director Caroline Kahn. Safety net cuts, this will be enlightening.
I wish it would
Thank
be
you.
more enlightening for you. Good morning, Caroline Kahn, Health and Human Services Director for Candy, Ojai County. I wanted to take a few moments to just provide a brief update of the recent federal legislation that may be significantly impacting how we administer our social net programming here in Candy, Ojai County and as Minnesota or the country as a whole. Specifically today, I was just going to focus briefly on the Medicaid and SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, but it is the SNAP program. These changes are signed into law as part of the comprehensive federal legislation package. I want to again thank you all as commissioners, your involvement and your awareness and participation in continuing to educate yourselves. So I apologize if this morning is an opportunity for refresh for you, but I think it's important that we share this with the public about what we do know and what we don't know. And unfortunately, right now, the latter is the greater. There's a lot of information that's come forward that says potentially, as you see in the chart that was attached to my board presentation, upon enactment, which could mean that it could go today, but the federal implications and figuring that part out is still yet unclear. We've had significant conversations with AMC yesterday on SNAP. This morning, we had a Medicaid roundtable with leaders throughout the state and both from the county level and the state level, and it's still a whole lot of hurry up and wait. How are we going to see these things move forward? So that's my message mostly today, is just to create that stability of, yes, we are aware significant changes are coming, but yes, we also are not exactly sure how that will eventually play out and at what time we should expect the full rollout of all of the changes that were signed into law on July 4th. They continue to evolve, and the budgetary implications at a county level are still to be yet unseen. I appreciate your innovative thinking, Commissioner Imdick, on how can we continue to evolve to meet these needs, and training is certainly an area that we will continue to focus on. Some of the things I thought was important to highlight as it comes to Medicaid is the federal match for emergency care. In Minnesota, we currently, as an expansion state, receive 90% of the federal dollars for Medicaid services delivered in our emergency rooms. Under this new legislation, that will move to 50%, leaving a 40% gap to figure out how will that be funded. Will that stay at a state level for reimbursement, or will that come down to a county level? It will have a greater reliance on our public health teams, our crisis response, and our safety net services overall, as we are unable to get Medicaid reimbursed care within our hospital systems. The SNAP cost shifts are also a large implication to see how these will eventually impact our community members. Starting in the federal fiscal year 27, the government will reduce SNAP reimbursement of administrative costs from 50 to 25%. It is still yet unclear if that will remain only to SNAP-related activities, or if all eligibility financial reimbursement will be included in that overall deployment of that shift. Currently, we have 13 staff within our eligibility team engaged in some form of SNAP work, but that is not their full work. So whether we need to pivot the way that we are structured in our work systems and develop specifically on one program, we found efficiencies in having 13 people aware of the program to administer the need here in Candy, Ojai County. Beginning in fiscal year 28, states will be required to cover 5 to 15% of SNAP benefits if a payment error exceeds the 6, the 8, or the 10% error rates respectively. At this time, there is no discussion of if the federal government will change how they calculate the error rate, which both now at this current moment includes staff errors as well as client errors. So if the application form has an incorrect Social Security number, that could be considered an error. So if the individual filling it out has an error, that counts as a county error and a state error as well. Currently in Minnesota, the error rate is 8.9%, or would reflect a 10% state participation. Again, it is still unclear if the state will hold that or if that will be trickled down to the counties. We're anticipating and preparing for what that could look at a county level. So for that, I wanted to share a little bit about what our SNAP reimbursement looks like here in Candy, Ojai County. Residents of Candy, Ojai County receive on average of $550,000 of SNAP benefits per month. That's a significant economic impact for the nutritional assistance of our neighbors. Those dollars are most often spent here in our grocery stores. They're spent here locally with our producers. So this shift will have an impact more than just on the service delivered to the client. These could potentially increase the financial risk to states and counties administering SNAP, and especially increase the caseload complexity as it rises to policy changes. Ensuring low error rates will continue required investments in staffing and training and technology, respectively, and increase our administrative burden. Additionally, they're looking at eligibility, or it's enacted that eligibility and work rule changes will also follow suit. Work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents are expanded to 64, which has changed from 54 to 64. It's important to note that the infrastructure for tracking our work and community engagement requirements does not currently exist. So it will take time for the federal government to figure out how they want that tracked on a daily basis. We have employers, we have Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, we have all sorts of individuals, but the infrastructure in which that comes to the county for monitoring does not yet exist. And then some non-citizens will also lose their SNAP eligibility, including those previously eligible under humanitarian and parole statuses. Why does this matter? It's going to increase a larger demand on our food shelves and our community-based resources for food access. It's going to increase the other needs that trickle into our social service systems because of hunger-related root cause issues. Counties may experience also client navigation and crisis intervention needs that, for those that fall outside of federal guidelines. In summary, both Medicaid and SNAP changes reflect the tightening of the federal financial support and this increased burden to state and local partners as we face the administration changes. As timelines firm up and implementation guidance becomes available, we'll continue to assess the potential budgetary and operational impacts. But today, my main message again is just to make the clear community awareness that this is an evolving issue and how this will eventually change the way that we work is unclear, but what we are confident is the why we work is not changing. So the how is going to pivot, the why will not. We will continue to remain a strong partner within our community to meet social safety net needs and anticipate changes as they come forward. So with that, I will answer questions as best I can with the information we have today. Every day we seem to have an additional webinar, an additional training, and additional questions. But it's important to note that, again, the how is going to pivot, the how it's going to be paid for will pivot, but the why will remain consistent.
I think to note and thank the board was, how many months ago we hired those 3 additional eligibility workers based off the funding that we received from the state for the unwinding dollars, because we were so far behind in assessments. And so this was renewals, sorry, it's another unit, renewals. And so that was very forward thinking at the time, and not maybe necessarily has set us up for what will come, but has set us up to start having the staff being trained. Because as you all sat through the eligibility work session, is the state provides the training, and if they don't have enough county employees to go into that training, they cancel it. And so it's.
Or if another county has a greater, yeah.
Yes. So we really depend on that state training, because that's the only training that we can provide our employees to do the job at the county level. So that state and county partnership to provide that training needs to get improved as well. But I think it is to commend this board for allowing Caroline and I to approve those 3 hires, and so to help us prepare and get to where we need to be, so we're not already behind the 8 ball when this does come all down. So we thank you for that.
I echo that.
It's kind of you. Thank you, Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think what I hear you saying too, we don't need a panic and go out and hire a whole bunch of people right now, and this gives us some cushion going into it. This is very unique, I think, for a Director of Human Services and Administrator for the county to get so involved in food stamps. I mean, this has been a program that's been around for years, but never had the need to get into the nitty-gritty of the whole process and the details of that. But I'm really glad that your presentation is so important that you do understand it and help us understand that as we go forward with this. And it is a little scary time what's going to happen, but I think it'll fall in place as we move forward. A couple questions is, also, it's going to impact the economy from many different aspects. And just want to emphasize, too, as well, is the impact on property taxes. And that's this big whole shift of how we fund government needs. We saw roads and bridges. We just saw about flooding and all that. And that's I can look at, property tax dollars. But this national program, agriculture program, should not be put on the backs of the farmers again as well. But I did have a question. They passed that bill with some help for the rural hospitals. How does that affect other nonprofits or even like mental health centers? Because they do have some inpatient, but it's not really a hospital. Do you have any clue? And I got a board meeting this
Yeah,
afternoon
no,
yet.
no, I
So I'll
appreciate
know
that.
more maybe then.
I will share that I'm not completely sure, and I
Yeah.
also see that our state partners are also not, because we did have that
yeah.
discussion this morning, is, how will those dollars, it's still even unclear if hospitals are going to have to apply for those or if they'll automatically be dispersed. So it's, that again is an evolving situation, but the federal government has also enacted some funding to meet that service gap need, understanding that they're decreasing that reimbursement threshold, and how rural hospitals will use those to address, I think it's going to be $10 billion annually, or if it's $10 billion over 5 years. But it's still unsure how that will be completely be deployed. There was a brief cliff note on CCBHCs as to how their involvement in that process this morning, but it was still unclear as to us Health and Human Services directors, how that will shift. But it's still an evolving conversation, for sure, so.
Just one follow-up,
Yeah.
just a comment. Thank you for all you're doing and your involvement in this. You probably know a lot more about SNAP program and food stamps than you did 3-4 years ago.
This is true.
But you seem very well on top of it, considering as much as we can know. And that gives us our groundwork going forward. So nice presentation.
Anyone else for the director? Commissioner Emdek?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of things. First of all, to Commissioner Berg's question, the $50 billion that was put in for rural hospitals was kind of a last-minute measure to gain some votes, because the cut was $150 billion. And so they gave a third of it back. And what we have learned, and I can't speak for Commissioner Dwayne Anderson, but I think I heard presentations maybe 3 times at NACO last week, NACO conference, regarding the federal policy. And of the $50 billion, half of it will go to all eligible hospitals, regardless of their size. And then the other half is going to go to hospitals based on the population of the areas. Now, not all hospitals apply. So it's going to be helpful, but it doesn't do anything for nursing homes. So nursing homes are still going to be a challenge. And again, we had a lot of emphasis on this federal policy. And regarding SNAP, Minnesota is one of 10 states that administer SNAP. Where the counties administer SNAP, let me put it that way. And so it's going to affect us sooner than it affects other states, and to a greater degree. So some of the things already will happen in 2025 and then in 2026. And the thing that I think that we really need to caution people on is that because some changes, last-minute changes were made that supposedly phased this in to give us time to get up to speed, they are going to happen. You know, they're not being reconsidered. It is a law. And so these things that they're warning us about some may not happen until as late as 2028, which in government, that's pretty darn quick. You know, it comes around fast. We could talk about planning for a road, and all of a sudden the road is built, we're cutting the ribbon, and 5 years went by. But so there is a lot. So in one of the presentations, they summarized kind of what this big shift will mean to counties, and I'm going to go to my screenshot that I took, is that this is unprecedented. What we're facing is unprecedented. And in planning for it, there's a number of things that are going to affect us. One is we may need to cut back or scale back critical services. We just can't do it all. We're going to or we can continue to deliver all the services, but at added costs. And in counties, added cost means taxpayers' costs, as Commissioner Berg has talked about, through raising local taxes or fees. Or we're going to delay or cancel other investments. There's things that we'd like to do at the county level that are discretionary, that are on the planning board, that we can't do because we're going to have to redirect resources to this. And then we're going to have to absorb the long-term economic impact of this. And that doesn't even address the impacts to individuals, which we almost have to get up on our social soapbox to do that, but there's a tremendous number of individuals that are going to be impacted. I received a rather negative email later this week regarding some comments I made, on these cost shifts. And it implied that as counties, we can make determinations on whether or not we think that person is a deadbeat and we shouldn't be giving them SNAP benefits or Medicaid benefits, but we don't determine the criteria. All we do is administer it. So if somebody came in and we thought they weren't eligible, if they fill out the paperwork and they're eligible, we are required by law to fill out that eligibility in the best way we can. And if anybody out there thinks that there are people that aren't eligible and are receiving this, they should call us. And Steen used to give out a phone number and said, hey, what's the phone? Here's the phone number to call if you know somebody's living in mom and dad's basement, collecting unemployment or SNAP benefits, and they're able-bodied. Call us. Let us know that.
And that same sentiment still stands. Please call.
Maybe you want to give the number for which to call.
320-231-7800. We'll bring you to our direct line for Health and Human Services, and then you'll be able to navigate to our fraud department with that. So we, as Candy, Ojai County, we do commit an entire full-time staff to monitoring individuals that are receiving benefits that should not be receiving benefits. And we are continuing to monitor that program and heavily invest in the training and resources around that need. Commissioner Imdick, I want to take a pause and echo that I hear you, and I don't want my presentation today to frame that we don't have impacts coming. We certainly do. Today, I just wanted the mother of four trying to worry if she's not going to have her SNAP benefits to feed her children to understand her benefits aren't changing today. And they might not change tomorrow either. But as leaders, it's our job to be looking at that 5-year horizon, and I commend this group for doing that alongside us. So I don't want it to be portrayed that we're not thinking that changes are coming, but we're having continual conversations. We had a conversation this week with an AI company about how can we use AI to start working with our eligibility team hand in hand so we can invest maybe $50,000 instead of $150,000 in an FTE. And how do we continue to equip ourselves? And to Administrator Baker's point, those 3 FTEs that you guys allowed for us to bolster our team in a time of need have now created that capacity for us to address this in a different way than we would have in January. So again, I echo that appreciation, but you are correct. Significant impacts are coming, and we may have to scale back to mandated only. And that will be a shift to our community, unfortunately, and has its own unintended consequences. But as our Health and Human Services Committee, we talk about that frequently, about analyzing every area of both internal and external involvement within our community so we can meet these needs with the limited amount of taxpayer impact.
Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And still, I think it goes back to, with all these changes, we can handle that and we can do the job. The question is, we need the dollars, and there's cost shift to property taxes versus income tax. And so it's so important that the key piece is, okay, the feds are cutting this, then they're going to pass it on to the state. And the state's got to give us the dollars to do the job, and that we don't have to go to our property tax. And that's where
Right.
I think we have to really put our focus on. We can do this. I prefer we don't do it. Some, like you said, as a state, and there's a question at the Zoom meeting yesterday about, has the state considered taking over the administration of the program? I'm not suggesting they do that or not, but.
There's no current discussion.
The point is, we can do it, you give us the money. That's my point of view.
Right, and we're not sure where our state partners will come in on that
Exactly.
yet. Will they do a 50-50 match? Will they do a 60-40? What will that look like? And will it, go on the income taxes versus the property taxes? That's the part that we're still navigating, but getting a clear picture of what that looks like. And Administrator Baker encouraged us to do our budget preparations just as is, so that way when these shifts come, we can have a clear picture of what that impact would look like. So we are continuing to gather that information and move it forward for those potential impacts.
Commissioner Imdak.
Thank you, and I know I'm coming across as glass half full or
No,
half
I-
empty, not half
it's-
full.
It's realistic.
But it is realistic, and to the point of the state, we just fended off.
I know.
A big cost shift from the state at the last hour of the last session, which could come back in 2026 if the working task force does not come up with ideas for cost savings without cost shifting. So I think that we're gonna get much
from-
relief from the state. They have to balance their budget, and their budgets, and the governor just said the other day, he doesn't think there's gonna be a special session. So it doesn't look very good from the state side of it.
I hear you.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, thank you for the update, and of course, that's more to be revealed later, and as you learn more, I'm sure we'll be, you'll be back up here again, letting us and letting our public know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we will have natural gas landfills. The glasses would help. Renewable natural gas landfill study, Ryan Batten, our landfill supervisor. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning. Ryan Batten, landfill superintendent, Candido County. We're going to talk about something completely different now. You guys were provided with a pretty extensive presentation in your board packet. We're going to try and boil it down to something fairly brief here because mainly what we're looking at is just an initial study period for a lot of the background information in here. So landfills produce what's called renewable natural gas through natural decomposition processes in the waste as it's buried. Currently, the state of these landfill gas projects, which are nothing new, it's been kind of a bigger landfill practice for a long time to be able to remove and harness these gases for different purposes, whether it's a pipeline interconnect or use on site through electrical generation, things like that. What's new are some of the shifts in the Public Utilities Commission and in federal tax credits and carbon tax credits that have made these projects more feasible for smaller facilities like ours. And that's where New Carbon, who's based out of Chicago, has reached out to the landfill and shown some interest in exploring the possibility of putting in a natural gas collection system at the landfill. So what we have in front of us today is basically a contract, if you want to call it that, initial terms for a 12-month study period. So it would give them exclusive rights to come in to do all of the studying of the gas quality, do the initial preliminary engineering, find out about pipeline interconnect with Xcel or CenterPoint or whoever might be available. They would put all that information together and bring it back to us before we make any decisions on the future of the project, 100% at their own expense. This wouldn't cost us anything. So that's what we have in front of us today. So some of the bigger scale benefits of this, as we look toward the future of our permitting at the landfill, just based on some of the changes that we're trying to make to our permitted capacity, it's going to push us over some air quality thresholds and probably push us into the need to establish some sort of gas treatment system, gas flaring, gas collection, something along those lines. We're not there yet, but the changes that we're going to make with our 2026 permit are looking like they're going to push us in that direction because we're going to be doing some leachate recirculation as a contingency to help back up our leachate treatment system, and then just the actual capacity. That's usually the threshold that trips you into needing to do something. Right now, we're just venting the gas that's generated to the atmosphere. So with that in mind, knowing that we're going to be pushed in that direction here, if the study comes back and they want to establish a system, a collection system at the landfill, that could potentially save the county a lot of money. They would do the 100% of the build out, O&M of the system. We would be able to collect some royalties. And if you're looking at page 1 of the presentation, that pretty well sums up a lot of it. You know, they quote some savings costs up to $6 million. That would be if we would develop an equivalent system to what they're proposing. That probably wouldn't be the direction we would go in. There's simpler things that we could do to meet the air quality thresholds, namely just flaring the gas at the source. But still, we're still talking about potential savings of well in excess of $1 million by letting them come in and build out the system. We would get some royalty kickback. It's not a lot, and it's, you know, it's kind of minimal in the grand scheme of things. The big savings that the county would get would just having the infrastructure built out for us and all the O&M covered. To do that on our own, you know, you're talking about an FTE to come in and run this gas system. If they're willing to do that for us, if the numbers all pan out, that's a pretty good boon to the county. So that kind of condenses it all down into what we're looking at today, which is just to sign this 12-month exclusivity contract with them that would let them come in and do the study and develop all the engineering. And I'd be willing to take questions here.
Ryan, just real quickly, so this is for them to do some engineering design, and that means that in order to do that, they're going to have to do some research on, you know, on the potential in the landfill itself for this.
Yes.
If they do end up doing anything either now or in the future, I assume that they have to have a collection system that goes down to a certain depth. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Because we had a discussion last time you were with us here about aquifers, and nothing in here is projected to potentially disturb either the upper or lower aquifer?
That's correct, yeah. What we already punch vents, what we call deep vents, into the waste mass. They're drilled down through the waste column to the bottom, backfilled with pea gravel, you know, some sort of porous material that allow that landfill gas to escape to the atmosphere instead of building up underneath the polyliner that we put on top of it. So it would be something similar to that, where they would install, I think they'd proposed over 70 different collection wells in the waste mass. They would install those and try to keep it kind of a sealed system where they're applying vacuum to the system in order to collect the gas, and then bringing it in and condensing it and purifying it and then sending it to the pipeline. So I don't think they would utilize our existing deep vents, just because we place them based on our current needs, and that doesn't really translate well into future needs here. There's a big study component of this, because we have waste that is as old as from early 1970s, you know, or even 1970 all the way to current day. So they have to come in, they have to take samples of the gas that's currently coming out of there and figure out, okay, the methane production here is pretty much tapered off, and it's best here. So they're looking for hot spots. They're looking for places that are best to locate these wells. They talk about area of influence and that sort of thing in placement of the wells. But yeah, that's what this initial study period would be, with them be coming in, doing that, studying the actual gas composition, the amount of flow that comes out, and what they think the potential could be, and then trying to get their engineering and logistics in order.
And I see that this entity works also with, for example, wastewater treatment plants and that type of thing.
Yeah, they're starting to get more and more into the municipal and agricultural sectors here because of these renewable energy credits and the PUC allowing these piloting programs for renewable natural gas. So they're looking at things like dairies as well, wastewater treatment plants, anything where methane production is prevalent.
Thank you. Commissioner Berg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple questions. This is kind of exciting stuff, and I don't think it's totally new. It's my understanding they're already operating in some landfills throughout our state as well. I do have some questions, though. It's a lot to absorb, the information you gave us, and then have you talked to us. So I have several questions. The first one is it's listed as an action item that we would approve the study. And what does that commit us to? Can we still back out of it after the study, and the study, I'd like to know how long that will take. And then it was talking about the first year of setting this up, it would be their expenses. And I think before we make a final decision, we'd have to know what's the county expenses after that, because I understand it could run 100,000 plus. It depends, but you can recoup that by selling the gas. Am I correct on this whole process?
So yes, the first 12 months, basically all that the county is committing to is just not letting anybody else come in and do a study.
Okay.
So we're just exclusively giving them the option to do the study, no expense to us at all. After that, they're going to come in with a proposal for us, basically an offtake proposal where they lay out the terms of construction, they lay out the terms of what we get as far as royalties are concerned, all of the O&M stuff, the upfront costs, the ongoing costs. They'll lay all of that out, and then we would sign, I believe it's a 24-month contract with them, which gives them the opportunity to go through all of the construction and everything and get the system up and running. And we would lock down terms as far as number of years that they're willing to purchase the gas for and that sort of thing at that time. So all that comes after this 12-month window. All we're giving them right now is just the exclusive rights to do the study.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so then after it gets to that point, then we're under contract to sell the gases back to them?
It would be another action item to come back to the board and approve that.
And we would have to do that.
Yes.
And that's negotiable. And so as we take each step through this whole process, just so we know we don't commit to this, and it's really good, but we ran into this other times too, like, okay, let's look at this, and all of a sudden you get down the path and you do it, and you kind of get locked into that. And I want to make sure that we explore everything going forward, but I think it's a good step in the right direction to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's another green project that we can bring to the county. It's another cost savings we can bring to the county. And
Is this a kind of contract the county attorney, this agreement that the county attorney would have to look over too as well?
I can't speak for that, I guess. I mean, I'm sure Shane would want to take a look at it and just make sure that there's nothing in there that we're missing. But yeah, everything that I've seen and read through, we're only on the hook for allowing them exclusive rights for 12 months. After that, it would be another action item to bring back to the board, every step along the way.
But this first step here then, the county attorney, you got the contract then?
We have all the materials,
And
yes.
they looked at that then, the county attorney's office?
I don't know if Shane had a chance to review that yet or not. But.
Commissioner Dale Anderson.
Well, going into the second phase of this, there has to be they must know they're gonna have a good payback, because for giving them that little short window of basically 2 years to do all that infrastructure work, that's pretty high cost, so they must know there's a good payback on the backside of it.
I think there is for their end, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna come in and develop millions of dollars of infrastructure if there isn't some return on it. But I think there's also a lot of risk right now too, just with not knowing the status of the federal carbon credits and that sort of thing. Some of that stuff is evaporated, but some of the things that Minnesota has done through the PUC is helping the process. There's also some requirements where export gas, renewables have to make up a certain portion of that by 2030, so that's working in our favor too. All these things factor in, yes.
Bill?
No, and I totally agree with you, there's some risk, but the big thing that, we're seeing on the electrical side that I've been involved in is natural gas prices just gonna continually go higher. So I mean, there's always gonna be that part that there's a good payback on that natural gas, because that natural gas is really in demand for a lot of different things right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good opportunity for us if we can make it not just go up into the air and make a use for it. I think that's really gonna be a good option, as long as they're willing to put the risk in it.
Right, and that's my big thing too, is just making sure that somebody else is assuming the risk, because there's things that we can do to mitigate that would, it would cost us well in excess of $1 million, yes, but the ongoing O&M wouldn't be quite as intensive as something like this. We would never develop something like this of our own accord. That's where these guys, these utility experts, these oil and gas experts, they come in and do this. It's just a very, very complex project with a lot of different numbers flying around that I can't even pretend to understand. That's, that's these guys' business. They're, past oil and gas executives, kind of with this startup, but they have other systems functioning in different locations already. So we're not the first here, but it is a new opportunity for landfills our size. In the past, it just hasn't been feasible because of the limitations, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the follow-up on. Yeah, we're lucky to have this opportunity to look at that, and I think it's something to really explore. But it's still the unknown, just as we are finding out from a federal and state level how things can change so quickly. And as you mentioned, if we get this program going and get up and running, all of a sudden their funding changes from the state or from the federal government, then who knows if they want to continue that type of service. Then we can always, probably sell the gas some other place. But then there's also, they're talking about opening up drilling again even more. So what impact would that have? And if we end up with a product or a program that we have to continue to fund at an expense and our value, we're getting our value back, our investment, by selling it again. So that's down the road, and it's the unknown. And it was unknown for you what's going to happen. It's really way above my pay grade.
And I think those are the questions that we really need to make sure we're addressing at step 2 of the process, when they come back with a proposal for us and when they're ready to lock in terms with us. Those are the things that, if they go belly up, what are we going to do? Obviously we won't have the initial cost in for the infrastructure, but then we're out of a collection system that puts us out of compliance with our permit, all of that sort of thing. So those are the things that we really need to discuss at step 2. This is just the very, very beginning steps here, and every step along the way will bring it back to board. This is definitely a decision that the board needs to make.
Go ahead.
And just to be clear, at this point, then, on this action item, there's no cost to it.
Correct.
To us at all.
100% funded by New Carbon.
And then once the county attorney looks it over, okay, just
Yes.
want to know what I'm voting on.
So the action that you are asking for is for this board to approve, approve the, oh shoot, now I don't exactly have. Approve the term sheet that's in our packet, allowing this exclusivity period with New Carbon.
That is correct.
Okay. Commissioner Imdeck?
Thank you. This is pretty exciting stuff, and I know that I've been around long enough that it had been talked about before, but now there's more options available. You mentioned the renewable energy credits that Xcel is still trying to meet. The question I would have regarding New Carbon is, are they operating in Minnesota at landfills right now?
I don't believe they have anything in Minnesota. I think they have, and I didn't print out the whole packet, I think they have a project somewhere in the southern portion of the Midwest at a landfill, and they are getting into the markets for ag, dairies and that sort of thing as well. So they do have a couple of projects in the works right now, some of them fully operational. So we won't be the first landfill, but I don't believe they have another landfill in Minnesota at this time.
So if I may continue, we have cells with liners in them. And I'm maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but can they do that in a cell that has liners, or do they have to only go in cells that don't have the liners?
Nope, it would be pretty much all of the municipal solid waste mass that we have, the pre-subtitle D stuff, the unlined stuff, and the currently lined stuff. So they'll put in these wells that I talked about. It's a penetration in the top liner, but they want it behooves them to seal it up well, because that helps with their vacuum on the system as a whole. So it's no different really than what we have now as a deep vent. It's just modified so that they can apply vacuum to it and take the condensate out of the gas and put it into a treatment system on site.
Commissioner Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one other question too, and maybe you can comment on this. What are some of the downsides besides the ones we've mentioned? And I would think there would be one concern about accidentally releasing then the PFAS or other chemicals into the air that we don't want to. Is there a risk of that? Is that a concern at all?
I wouldn't say it's a concern. I would say it's a great benefit for that. Although, you know, PFAS aren't necessarily volatile. But the methane and the CO2 that are coming out, and there's proposal to actually harness both of those constituents. That's, you know, it's a greenhouse gas. So, I mean, that's why we have air quality permitting and that sort of thing. And that's why we'd be required to flare it once we meet these thresholds. So, I mean, they're collecting a greenhouse gas, a pollutant. So, I mean, it's a benefit as a whole to the environment to install a system like this rather than just passively venting it to the environment like we're currently doing.
Wanted to hear that for the public too. Yeah.
Commissioner Dale Anderson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the term sheet with the agreement to do this at the landfill.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second to approve the term sheet agreement with New Carbon. Any further discussion? Commissioner Imdak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is there a, when did this first come to us? In May?
They first reached out to us probably about 16 months ago, I think, and we wanted to see how our permitting, you know, get a feel for how our permitting process was gonna go to see if it was something that actually made sense for the county. Rather than just slapping something in for the sake of doing it, we wanted some benefit to the county before we went ahead with this. So it's the serious conversation we've been having since, you know, April or May to try and develop a plan to move forward here.
So, I asked the question because, so we're getting it today for the first time for action, and the county attorney hasn't seen it yet. I'm wondering if there really is urgency to do it now or allow him to review the contract first before we go forward with this action.
Commissioner, I think I'm of the understanding that the county attorney has reviewed this. Shane?
Yeah, I've reviewed it. It's satisfactory.
Okay, thank you.
And in the event that we do some research on New Carbon versus other companies that do this, our hands would then be tied once we sign this, at least for a year.
Just for 12 months, yes.
Yeah,
That's
and if there are other firms out there, and we find out that there might be others that would be a better fit, after a year, we could, you know, do different action.
Yes, that's correct.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the term sheet with New Carbon LLC. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to seeing where this leads us.
I do have some finalized copies of that draft. I can give them to you, Kelsey, or I could just email it to you, whatever is easier, so.
Sure, I'll take it now.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And we are going to take a 5-minute recess. County Board of Commissioners is back in session at this time. We have Gary Gear, Environmental Services Director, and we are discussing a nuisance abatement issue. Gary, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. Gary Gear, Kennewick County Environmental Services Director, before you today with a nuisance abatement request. And it is property that we have visited previously as well, but has been in need of attention again, I guess, is kind of how it stands today. Initially, a letter was mailed out to the homeowner May 27th of 2025 with a June 20th deadline, and that was not met and has not been met yet to date. I did go to the property this morning just because I spoke with the landowner yesterday, and he said, making progress, and trying to do what he can. Limited progress has been made. So there's certainly still a nuisance to be abated there, and that would be the staff's request to the board today.
Gary, did I understand you to say that this particular property has been before the board in the past?
Correct. It was
How
in
long, do you know?
2022 was the last
22,
time,
okay.
correct.
And what was the resolution at that time?
The board did approve going in and abating the property, and I did work with Public Works at that time to go in and accomplish that. And so that we're at the same place 3 years later.
Mr. Chair, I move that we go ahead with the abatement.
We have a motion to go ahead with the abatement. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Discussion, and I guess I'm going to start these. It is striking to me that hearing that this same property had been before us only 2 years, 2 years ago, is in this condition again. What happens? I mean, you know, this is a property owned by this person, and the cost of cleanup must be paid for by someone. And is it then that property owner, it goes on the property?
Yes, that is correct. It's landfill fees, and Public Works gives bills my office for their time and labor, and that total goes on the property as a special assessment.
But there's really nothing that keeps this from happening again.
Correct. I struggle with some of these and I'm not able to change personalities or behaviors. They have best interests, they mean well. This individual is a pleasant person to visit with. And I believe it's predominantly some of his own offspring that are the main collectors, and difficult for him to work with and deal with, and things just appear on the property. And solid waste of what is generated on that property.
Commissioner Imdahl.
Thank you. These are never easy, but I think they're necessary for the public health of the neighbors for sure.
Yes.
And just for their enjoyment of their own property. And it's too bad that it's come to this, but I just don't think it's fair to the neighbors not to deal with it. And so that's why I made the motion. I'm going to support it.
Any other, Commissioner Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At first, when I saw this, and I looked online, and I looked at the very first picture, and I thought, well, that's not going to be that big of a problem until I looked at the rest of the pictures. Yes, it definitely, something's got to be done.
Yes.
And I thought we maybe dealt with this before, so
Correct.
thank you for verifying that. It is a too bad deal. It goes on their taxes, and hopefully they can pay the property tax as well, but it's just too bad.
But it's just simply a lien on the property, yes? Or tell me what that mechanism is.
Well, it's what I term a special assessment placed on the property, right on their property taxes. So not a lien.
Okay.
I think that's a different term, but
Sure.
special assessment.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, comments from the board? We have a motion and a second to proceed with the nuisance abatement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Then we will have Eric Van Dyken, zoning administrator, with planning commission recommendation. Eric, good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Eric Van Dyken, County Zoning Administrator, before you today with a single request from the July 7th meeting of the Planning Commission. This involves rezone of a portion of a property on the south side of Diamond Lake, covering probably or the property itself has frontage on Dogfish Bay, a little over a half mile of frontage. It wouldn't be the lake frontage that would be rezoned. It would be some of the second tier that's on this property. It's kind of a strip. If you see the map there, there's two colors on the property. The fuchsia near the lake is already zoned for residential purposes, and the green is our other shoreland district, and it's lower density. In order to be able to hear or consider a proposal from the landowner that may come for development there, we need to get that consistently zoned so that we are applying the standards of a zoning district, not trying to apply two across a development. And so the Planning Commission considered that. There's no detail on any proposal at this point. Something may or may not come forward. But the Planning Commission then did consider that and recommend approval with the findings as you see in the draft minutes.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Eric?
I have one question, Mr. Chair. So is that where it says Diamond Lake Partners LLC on that, in that green there on that map?
Yeah, thank you. I maybe should have pointed out that the land ownership is not quite updated on the GIS yet. So when you might see the agenda item says TDG 41 LLC, and the name associated with it, the application is Travis Stratman, who's the principal behind that LLC. That typically, when properties change hands, there is a little lag in our GIS system to update. So yes, it is that Diamond Lake Partners LLC property, parcel number 19280270.
All right, is there a motion to bring forward?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to make the changes recommended.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request for rezoning. Discussion. Commissioner Imdak.
I thought this would be the second shortest planning and zoning meeting we ever had, previous one being the shortest, but we had quite a few people showed up, and I asked the same question Commissioner Anderson did. However, it was fairly far into the discussion. I was confused because the applicant was not listed as the property owner, which was confusing and it's not allowable. And then there was also a question of adverse possession, but not on the whole property, but only on the tiny little strip where somebody turned their tractor around every time they planted and thought that gave them rights. But once that was cleared up, it all went pretty fast.
All right, very good. Anybody else? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the request for rezoning. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll ask County Administrator Kelsey Baker to bring us forward with a Resolution 2025-24 authorizing signatory duties. Kelsey, go ahead.
Yep, again, Kelsey Baker, Candioi County Administrator. Before you today, I'm bringing the resolution, as the chair referenced, due to the retirement of our current auditor treasurer effective July 24th, 2025. So as you know, we want to keep this office moving in this position with critical financial responsibilities, including the signing authority and official documents, warrants, and other financial documents. And so to ensure the continuation of operations, this resolution basically states that we would authorize the delegation of signatory duties to our Chief Financial Officer, Karen Anderson, and then myself as County Administrator, effective July 25th, 2025. And so what that means basically is you'll see currently Mark Thompson's name on our warrants, our checks, things like that. It's basically stamped in through our CPT services. And so in the meantime, Scott Hovland, our IT director, is working on getting Karen's signature. So we'll work to make sure Karen's is completed and uploaded by next Friday, and then we'll work on getting mine. We probably won't have a long lapse. We just conducted interviews yesterday for the auditor treasurer. We posted internally. And so I will provide an update on that, hopefully at our next board meeting, on where we are at with that position. But as of today, we would be asking for this resolution to be approved so that we continue operations in the meantime after Mark retires until our current auditor until our new auditor treasurer starts.
All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-24.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Imdeck seconds. Discussion, questions? Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have not been on that signature before, right? So,
No.
so when a new person's hired, do we have to have a date on this or an end date on this then, or?
So we'll do it again when the new person starts.
You
Yep,
are.
so we'll add that person. So whoever replaces Mark, then we will need to get the board to approve their
Their-
name to sign on behalf of signatory duties. And so we'll bring this
and then
resolution.
Take the other names off then?
Correct.
Okay.
Sometimes counties will leave maybe the CFO's name on there, so we'll kind of, I'll think
Yeah,
about that.
that's the question I was wondering.
Yes,
we haven't
absolutely.
done
So
that
we don't
before.
have to remove the CFO or my position, but we would need to add that, then the auditor treasurer, and just update the resolution more or less.
So with the auditor or treasurer, there wouldn't be an issue of, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So when that auditor treasurer starts per statutory duties, the board will have to authorize them to sign. So we'll probably either, my thought process will be, we'll either amend this resolution or just create a new resolution to add the updated name to be able to have their name on all these financial documents.
Commissioner Imdeck.
Thank you. Appreciate the fact that our staff and everybody else will continue to get paid,
Yes.
even if Mark isn't here. I had a similar kind of a question, but also I was a little surprised that our CFO wasn't already on the signing doc, because a lot of things require two, so.
Yeah, so to your point, Commissioner Imdyke, it doesn't hurt this resolution anyways to get our CFO, specifically our CFO, as a backup if you have any situations. But so how we have it done is our employees can retire and then take their leave. And so technically his last day of employment isn't until September. But by doing this ahead of time is just, we're fully doing that transition now. And like I said, we posted internally, so hopefully we'll have, you will have an update by the next board meeting. You will probably have one prior to that. And then we'll get that person on there. And typically when we do an internal transfer, we do a kind of a 45-day rule. So both departments have time to move and work on things.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Is this just an internal posting, or is it internal and external?
It was just an internal posting. Sorry, we have a motion, don't we?
Yeah, and a second.
Because, yeah, I can answer that question if you want to take the motion and finish this. That is part of my update, so.
Yep, that sounds fair enough. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2025-24. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, and let's segue right into your update.
My notes over there, so I might forget a few things. I had four things. I'll touch on the auditor treasurer first, as Commissioner Imdyke was saying. We have done an internal posting on department heads before, so this isn't anything new. I do think when we have internal candidates that are interested and want to have that promotion from within, I think it's always a good thing to offer that opportunity. And so, like I said, we conducted interviews yesterday. The vice chair and chair were invited, and then our CFO also sat in on those interviews. So we'll just kind of decompress, talk through those options, and we'll probably have a decision by next week. July 18th. So if you do have any other questions, sorry, before I go to my next one, if you do have any other questions on that position, just reach out to me and let me know.
I'll ask one now, because others might have that too.
Commissioner Rimdeck?
So on certain positions within the county are appointments. And that, as this used to be an elected position, is this now one of those appointed positions that we as a board have to approve?
No, typically, any of those appointments are approved under the county administrator, under our policy. What you're referring to probably is those 4-year appointments that statutorily that we do. We don't typically do that with the county auditor treasurer, this position. We have that done with the county assessor and then the county engineer and the VSO. Veteran Services Officers that we have currently done now. We have not had that 4-year appointment with the auditor treasurer.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that, because Mark was originally elected and
Right.
as the
Moved to
discussion
appointment
goes
after.
back to we moved to appointment.
Yep.
When the law changed that allowed that, and so,
Correct.
thank
Yep.
you.
However, it's always, I could talk to you about those 4-year appointments because it does get confusing because the board approves those 4-year appointments. However, the personnel is then falls under the county administrator. And so it is kind of that twofold that the board does need to appoint. The next topic was July 18th, that's tomorrow. We are doing, the closing for that landfill property is happening at 1 o'clock. I have included the chair, so the chair will sign the final document. The chair will be there for the closing, along with the Kuzman individuals. I'm not sure who they'll have there, but we'll do that closing at 1 o'clock. We have transferred all of the information that we need to it. We're still working some of those details through. And then we will have the keys to the property tomorrow afternoon, and I've coordinated with Ryan that we will make sure the keys are and the chains and everything is locked and secure. So when that property is transferred, Melissa is actually working on MCIT for insurance and whatnot, so we'll have all of that ready to go by tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I just wanted you all to be aware that the closing happens tomorrow, and then it will be in our hands by 1:30. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. Another thing that I am working on.
Yeah.
Yep.
As-
Commissioner Rimdeck?
I'm getting a lot of questions about what we're going to do with the property. Is there anything that you can talk about the buildings especially?
Correct. I can do a high level. I think I would like to wait a few more weeks to publicly say, because we are looking at any and all options of what we could do. I will say I have been contacted by organizations on exploring opportunities. And so I will say I am looking into all aspects because, number one, we don't want to abandon the property. And number two, if we can get revenue, we want to make sure we can explore that. And so I'm not making a knee-jerk decision on sending out an RFP quite yet. We're kind of exploring what those opportunities could be. I have updated the chair on that, and so I'm hoping in a few weeks that I can provide more of a public announcement of what those opportunities will be. But being a public entity, we would have to do a request for proposals and write up what we are looking for. And I think still not, the property we haven't fully acquired yet. So we want to get on that property, look to see what we really could do with that. But absolutely, all and any opportunities are being explored. And when I have talked with these two organizations, I've also talked with Gary, and I said, if you see people out in the community, tell them to call me. I'm willing to listen. Let's look at the property. What could the option be? And so I don't want to close the door on any type of opportunity there could be, but I want to ensure the 5 of you that we are looking at any and all opportunities.
Commissioner Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would think first we would probably want to get a home inspection to see what.
We already had a home inspection.
Oh, you have?
Yep, that was prior to, we did that prior to even bringing to the board.
That's a contingency of the closing.
Yeah, prior to closing. We had that done a couple weeks ago. So
So are there many things fixed up at
I
all?
wouldn't say there was anything alarming.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
There are some
Didn't
other
sound like we
maintenance things,
had-
so that's something too that
Yeah.
Gary, when Gary and I met on the budget this week, that was one of the things, like, okay, so we read through the home inspection, now let's sit down and fully read through that and see what all entails there, because that might fall into part of a maintenance agreement with some type of organization, you know?
Sure.
So those are things we're kind of still shuffling around. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to ensure the 5 of you and the public that we are looking at all opportunities.
And may I follow up? Yes, thank you. And I look forward to hearing several options and for the board to make a decision on in the future. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was thinking, I have 2 more things. The ordinance. So for the no-wake zone ordinance, sorry, I was trying to think what's on my list there. The no-wake zone ordinance, I've heard from commissioners, I've heard from constituents, I've talked with the sheriff in depth on this. I think he's irritated with me talking to him about this. And so I am exploring what an ordinance would look like. The more I dig into it, some ordinances more are for chain of lakes, which we really only have one chain that you would go through, which is on Games, Little Norway, West Norway. So we're not looking at really having an ordinance specific to chain of lakes. We're having more of an ordinance regarding the no wake. And so just hearing Austin's presentation, I'll work with Austin. I'm connecting with a DNR rep who administers all of this, the water levels. I'm meeting with him next Tuesday. As I've communicated with Commissioner Emdike, short term, yes, you could do that no wake, but at this point, we're almost past that. And so I think the long-term solution is creating this ordinance. And so I will hopefully it won't fix the problem right now, but it will fix that problem moving forward for your constituents that are asking on that no wake zone. And then that doesn't allow the sheriff, who doesn't technically have that authority, then it would allow enforcement under this ordinance. So I've kind of gathered a couple of ordinances that I think Commissioner Anderson has sent me a few, other staff has sent me a few. So I gathered all of them and I'm working off one draft. So if you kind of are like, okay, keep working on that, I will continue working on a draft and bring that back for just review and see what you all think from there. And like I said, I'll work with Austin on some water levels. He might have more accurate water levels that I'm looking for. I just told him that in the hall. So I'll work with him on that, and then I will provide more of an update after that. But like I said, we don't have a short-term solution necessarily. It's that long-term solution that we can get that ordinance approved to answer those constituent questions, I think, moving forward. Last thing is the budget. When I had 3 department heads sitting in here, I almost mentioned I wanted to talk about the budget, because one thing I am asking all department heads is mandated versus non-mandated services, and I think I can look to Mel, I even asked him that question, what's mandated, what's non-mandated, where can we cut, things like that, because it's not necessarily affecting the 26 budget, but like we all know, it's gonna affect the 27 and 28, and so as your administrator, I'm looking forward on how can we set ourselves up in 26 to be prepared for the possible unknown for 27 and 28. However, it kind of goes back to, that 30 years ago where government really just did the mandated services, and I would say county government is why I think we all love county government, has grown in so many ways for services. And you could say daycare services aren't mandated, right? But we do a lot of good work then with our daycare providers when we do some of that unmandated services. Community corrections, we do some unmandated services, but that helps with recidivism. So I just want to let you all know when we come and present on the August 19th, we are having difficult conversations. I am, and the department head, we are having those difficult conversations. And this isn't easy. It affects livelihood. I'm not saying we're cutting FTEs. I don't want the public or media to hear that. But we are reviewing all FTEs because that is what you're asking me to look at, because that's the driver for the budget with our payroll and benefits. And so we don't want to reduce services. Maybe let's look at them differently. How can we automate things? How can we look at our travel? How can we look at what are our maintenance agreements like, or our partnerships with different organizations? Can we streamline things? And so I just wanted to ensure and to let you all know that leading up to the August 19th meeting, we are having those conversations and we are trying to be creative in how we're looking at the budget. And so at that August 19th, we'll have our budget presentation, and we are trying to keep it a shorter meeting because I think you said you had to get going that day. And we are trying to keep the August 19th agenda fairly small, and then we'll have our budget work session. And this year we'll have kind of our normals, our landfill, public works, health and human services. I'm gonna include facilities, and I'm missing one, and technology. I feel like technology is on that list, but I can't remember if I told anyone else. So those departments will be coming to do their own presentation, and then I'll highlight the other departments. A little different than we did last year, but keeping that same message. So if you do have any questions leading up to that budget presentation, please let me know ahead of time so that I can have that information researched and ready to answer your question.
Commissioner Imdak.
Thank you. I'm just trying to see if I'm understanding. You said certain departments are going to be, we're going to have a look under the hood.
Yep.
Not at the July 16th or August
19th, yep.
19th meeting.
Yep, so, years past, we used to have the landfill, Public Works, and Health and Human Services, and then last year, we had all departments come and present. You know, we included VSO, assessor, auditor, and so we're gonna scale that back just slightly, and we're gonna still have, you know, landfill, and now I'm including facilities and technology. So it's still kind of somewhat of the same, it's just a different version of what we've done now.
I think it would be helpful if we could have a work session for that look under the hood
We are.
ahead of the
It is.
August 19th meeting.
August 19th is
We
a,
won't, I'm gonna say we won't be ready by then.
Okay, or even after, but before we certify.
So what I have typically done, if we need to do that, we have the September 2nd meeting then, so we can do more, another budget review at that time. And then we have the second board meeting. How September falls is then our second board meeting in September is early. I don't have a calendar, it's like September 16th, don't quote me on that. but I
Yep,
think
that's
it's-
right.
And so then we, how it falls, the calendar this year, then we have our 3 weeks in between then and the first meeting in October. So we can always do another budget work session at the September 2nd meeting to answer any of those follow-up questions prior to the 16th for the preliminary approval. Because the levy needs to be approved by September 30th. Typically, the date is whenever that Friday, it could be October 1st. But it needs to be approved by September 30th.
Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your comment about non-mandated services, and that is a concern, of course. It really is, but I think also we recognize that a lot of these non-mandated services we provide are grant-funded in addition, and/or that when we look, we have to look at, you know, just because it's non-mandated, it could be a very important service.
Absolutely.
And not only an important service for us, but how it affects, you know, the county as a whole and the taxpayers. This is something that they really want. Or a business, major business that could help our economy and help our tax base. So, yeah, there's a lot to look at. But on the other hand, I think we run a pretty you and everybody else on the board as well, and the department's heads and the staff, run pretty lean the way it is.
I would agree.
We provide a lot of good services, and we don't want to get rid of any if we don't have to, but it's going to be tough. We'll get there.
Yep, we will.
Yeah, for me, a good example of what Commissioner Berg is referring to is we could probably save $50,000 in some areas, which looks like a savings, right? But if that $50,000 could be used in human services, Caroline left, I think.
Or county,
For a
county
matching,
attorney's office.
for a matching grant that would give us $300,000, then it's become a big cost to us, not a savings.
Yeah, this is surgery rather than taking a meat cleaver to the problem.
Good.
I sat down with the chair yesterday and we went over a few things and I kind of gave him the nitty gritty and I just said we will be there by the 19th. August 19th to be ready, but I don't want to push anything either. You know, I had about a 45-minute conversation, almost hour with Karen. That was just yesterday. I probably had an hour conversation with her on Tuesday too, on how to dissect this. And I think, as you all know, there is still moving parts, and it's not necessarily that it's, you know, the state has made their decision, but there's moving parts in the federal government that are gonna affect us. And, you know, it's my job then to prepare us then for 27 and 28, because it might not hit 26. But then you have to think, you know, then I can go down this rabbit hole that our contracts are up at the end of 26. So then we go into negotiations, you know, in that fall, next fall. So there's all these different moving pieces. And I will say, and this is part of one of the drivers in the calendar in the year of 2026, instead of having 26 pay periods, we have 27 pay periods. And so that is a big change. And not a big change, but it's kind of a one-off. We had this happen a few years ago. So it happens every so many years that we have more pay periods in 1 year. So that's just a little caveat that we're working with, that we need to dissect, and it will even itself out then in 27 based off our COLAs. But those are all areas that I'm trying to fine tune and frame and get ready for the 19th. So.
Corky?
Yeah, help me understand, because it does level off, you know, an extra pay period, why would that impact the budget then, per se?
Because we typically always have 26 pay periods in a year.
Yes, and we budget, and can't we just budget for 26 and?
Well, you could, but then
next
you're
year-
gonna be well over on payroll. So to accurately
Yep,
budget,
and we
you're
have to go
gonna.
into reserves for that 1 month.
Right, so those are things that we're
Then it shakes out the
looking
next
at.
year, so I don't know if it directly impacts the budget per se, because we don't want to put it on a levy, an additional levy for that 1 month that all of a sudden the next year,
But right,
we don't have it.
yeah.
Mr.
But it still needs to
Is
be
that, I'm not
accounted
sure if
for.
I'm making sense or if
No, I get
I'm
where you're coming
understanding.
from, but there's a lot more that I could say that I think you and I could have
Okay,
that one-on-one
okay.
conversation with, so.
All
yeah.
right.
Commissioner Decker?
I'm more than happy to sit down with any of you and go over this, because this
Sure.
is, I mean, Steve and I discussed probably for an hour yesterday on different things that we're dissecting and looking at. And I just emailed the department head groups, because I just got done meeting and I haven't quite met with all. But just a heads up, we might have to meet a second time. So I haven't even had those second meetings yet with some departments on areas to improve or whatnot. I've had maybe some emails back and forth. But like I said, I want to feel really solid, and I want the staff to feel solid who are presenting at that August 19th meeting on the budget. So I want us to be fully prepared for that.
Roger?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just, and that's part of the reason why I asked about a work session prior to August 19th. Last year at this time, the commissioners did have a sneak preview of the budget, because I received it the day before I left for the NACO conference. And so essentially, August 19th would put us a month behind last year if we're getting our first look at it. So consider that. I mean, that's almost a month or over a month away yet. If we had one a few days beforehand, that we could do some of that more detailed work. Because we don't know what questions to ask at this point, because we don't know what's being considered as a potential budget impact.
And as we've heard from staff a couple of different times today, they're still sussing through all of the various potential future impacts.
No, and I
And I
understand.
think that drives the fact that, you know, the timing this year is going to be a little later than last year because of that.
I understand that, and I think, you know, now that we have dates on what things are going into effect in 25 and 26 and 27, you know, we can start to put that together.
And
We'll get there.
And I did have the 2025 budget with that presentation, but I would say, so I hear what you're saying, but that spreadsheet that I gave you last year, I think that's a little preliminary for where we're at right now. I can provide something like that at the August 5th with the spreadsheet that you're referring to. And I could probably do, I could maybe have something, I get what you're saying, and so I'll think about that and see if we can have anything prepared, but I really don't want, where we're at today.
No,
Do you know what I mean? So we were a little further ahead last year.
Yeah.
And that's not because the staff and I were all further ahead. We knew more, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess that's why we didn't do that again, because Melissa's great and she'll say, hey, you did this last year, you know, are you gonna do this again? And we're not there. And so if we can be there on the 5th, I can include something like this.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, from August 19th, let's say we had a work session, I don't know when Saturdays and Sundays land those days, but let's say we had a work session August 14th or August 13th or whatever. Not much is gonna change between that date and August 19th. And so we're gonna have to go with the
I can give
information
you
we have at that time.
I can do somewhat of a sneak peek. I know my wheels are turning. I can give somewhat of a sneak peek on the 5th.
Okay.
And of course, we'll all be out at the fair, and we'll be probably having the highest level of resident engagement that we'll have had in probably ever. So whatever information we can get, that is the most current and what we're able to share, will be helpful. Is there anything else from you, Kelsey? Okay. And then I thought we would have a lot of time for report outs today, so, but I do want to give, I think the three of us down here are going to hold off today, but you two just came back from NACO, and if you just want to take 5 or 6 minutes, and, if you want to talk about the NACO conference, certainly be open to that.
Do you want to go first?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, we went to NACO conference, and it's kind of interesting. It's fun to see, or it's interesting to see how we sit as a county compared to others around the country. And I think for the most part, we're right on or ahead of a lot of other counties as far as a lot of things. And what I sat in again this year was a technology conference, and that was on Friday. It was all day. And one of the things I got out of the deal was this Doug Kinkoff. He's Associate Administrator from the Office of Internet Connectivity and Growth in Washington, D.C. And he kind of gave a little update on like BEAD, that program that's, let's see, it's called Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. And I think in the past, lately, we were kind of the assumption that, well, it doesn't even really pay to apply for that grant, but maybe he gave a little bit of hope we could still get denied if we apply with our same applications that have been, denied or turned down or not accepted in the last couple times that we've tried applying for grants. But it makes it sound to me like maybe we should apply again, because they're gonna be technology neutral. So there could be cheaper ways of, providing high-speed internet to rural residents or any residents in the county. But it's still worth a try to, go with it, and we'll see if we get challenged or not. But we might have to try to go down that path. This next round is gonna be, they're going to focus more on deployment rather than other types of, services or whatever that the grant looks at. But so I think maybe it could be a good time to try to send it in again, and that's due on September 4th. So I'll have to make a few phone calls and see if anybody in the county or the providers are interested still. So that was pretty much what I got out of it. I know there's a lot of depression and people, talking negatively about what's going on in the country. We still live in a great country, and part of the things that I did on my spare time was I toured around Philadelphia. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but Philadelphia has a lot of history in it. And I went to Independence Hall, and that was really, really neat to see. And You know, so there is hope. This is a great country, and it's just kind of fun to see all that history when you get a little chance. But then, so I ran to those things, and I ran to the conference, and did a lot of running the last 5-6 days. So I had a lot of fun, and I don't know. There's a lot of information still. It's been just a couple days ago, but just a lot of things to kind of process right now. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dwayne and I'm gonna encourage any of you guys, if you are interested, that you would get a lot out of that NACO conference. I mean, there's networking, the business meetings that we go to, and the information that was presented to us. Even the vendor shows, I mean, there's vendors there that probably could save our county money and make us run more efficient. But, you know, we have to be able to hear them when, and Dwayne already made some connections since he got back. And, but Dwayne and I tried to kind of divide and conquer. So I said, are you going to this workshop? And then I'll go to this one. He went to the bead one. And one of the things, by being there, you know, there wasn't that many counties represented, if you want to know the truth. Out of 87 counties, I bet you there wasn't 20 counties represented. Some counties had a lot
I
of
think
people.
only about 40 commissioners went total.
Yeah. And so by being there and learning about these things, it allows us to punch above our weight pretty well, just like our own county has done. And I'm talking more from the state of Minnesota. So there are about 5 standing policy, or maybe 7 standing policy committees. 2 of our county commissioners from Minnesota are chairing those committees next year. So we have a high percentage. Barb Wickman-Brecky from Scott County and Angela Conley from Hennepin County are both chairs of major policy. And what you do there besides meet with vendors and get educational ones is you do your committee resolutions, like transportation or health and human services at a federal level. What do you, just like we do at the state, in our policies at the state, you do them at the federal level. And it makes a difference because some of the changes, some of the deferrals into future years that we got from the federal tax policy were a result of efforts by NACO at the last hour. So that's important. And then you vote on them at your annual meeting, you elect the new officers, you find out who the new chairs are. And it's really valuable information. And you're kept busy and wear good shoes, just like when you go to Washington, wear comfortable shoes.
Could I say one more thing, or like 2 more
Yes,
things?
go ahead.
So one thing we learned, I believe, if we don't go send somebody from the county there to represent us, I don't believe you get a vote.
You don't.
And so that makes a big difference. Some counties, we got 2 big counties, or maybe a few more than that, but they send huge delegations. So their influence is really heard. And so the smaller counties like us, I mean, we maybe don't consider ourselves really a small county, but we are. We have 1 vote. Those other counties have,
Hennepin had 22, I think.
yeah, 22 votes, whatever it is, but they have a huge influence. And so if you don't go there, you have, right now, we have a small influence, but if we don't go, we have no influence. So it does make a difference if we show up, and then you can intermingle with those other people, maybe persuade them on different bylaws and stuff like that. But one other thing I just remembered, I was at one of the events there, and they were asking people from different counties around the country to speak for 90 seconds, and I wasn't gonna do that, but they were begging, and so I did get up and I spoke, and so I did talk about our how we used our ARPA dollars to get fiber to the home, and so it was kind of interesting. I was impressed that I was able to speak for 90 seconds, so.
Thank you you reminded me of one of the sessions that we might have both been at, that one, regarding land use. And these data centers that are being proposed around the country are taking huge amounts of energy. And Amazon, for example, can only allowed to be shut down for 6.5 minutes a year, in a whole year, or it disrupts theirs. So if they don't have reliable energy, they have to have backup systems. Well, Amazon's proposed one in, I forget what county, would have taken like 2,000 acres of solar panels, and it still wouldn't have given the reliability they needed. So there's been a real strong push, if you will, for, we all know of nuclear reactors on Navy ships, especially aircraft carriers. They're little mini nuclear reactors, and they're looking at those as potential answers to the energy needs for data centers, because their footprint is smaller than this building, almost smaller than this room. It's crazy.
Chair?
Yes.
Well, thank you. First off, I want to thank both of you for going. I think it's fantastic that our county is so supportive of this type of thing. And just for the public too, we talked about NACO, but just so they understand, this is the National Association of Counties that people, that our representatives are going. And we're talking about the budget, but these are important things and non-mandated dollars that we do. And I think I'm so glad we are going to continue to do these, and we have been doing these kind of conferences all along. So it's good to hear back from you.
And you mentioned the data centers, and I know that I believe it's MCIT training on land use that is coming up. That's going to be one of the topics there as well. So I know that that's happening on a day where Corky and I are going to be at Prime West. And so if anyone else can make it to that, I think it'd be worth your time. So, good. Anything else from anybody? Anything else to report out on that? Anything else for the good of the order? All right, then we will adjourn. Thank you so much, everybody, and stay dry.